So let's start the Mangalacharan prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtham Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri
जो आपको अच्छा लगा मैंने
Yutam
उसके बारे में कुछ बोला
Shri
you
Gurun
want to do whatever you want
Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakham Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Then we'll do Prabhupada Pranam Mantra. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. So I want to welcome everyone who all are there. There is Deepshika, Akshara, Akshaj, and then Vedavarshini, and who else is? And then Advaita Chandra and Krish. And I think I could see hardly a face. Who is that? Oh, it is Navneet. Okay. I could see him now. Okay. So let's discuss. So in the previous sixth chapter, as we were discussing, there was a verse that which actually tells that Bhakti Yoga is the topmost yoga. So we discussed, if you remember, yoga ladder. So in the yoga ladder, Bhakti Yoga is in the topmost. Bhakti means to have devotional attitude or love towards the devotional. Like there are two persons to have the devotion. Can you hear? Okay. So have the devotion, one should be, there is a background noise coming, so please can make a sound a little less somewhere. Maybe Advaita Chandra also. Yeah. So we can actually now discuss. So what I was mentioning was for bhakti, there are three different aspects of bhakti. One is the person for whom the bhakti should be there. A bhakta should be there, Bhagavan should be there, and there should be a reciprocation between Bhagavan and the bhakta. Right? Three different aspects should be there. So that loving devotion that a bhakta or a living entity has for the Supreme Lord is bhakti. And it is only possible, Srila Prabhupada describes it as devotional service. It's not only having bhakti, but doing some service also. There is some action involved. By action, we display our bhakti towards the Lord. Like, for example, we'll see so many examples in this chapter. Why I'm talking about bhakti is because all this sixth chapter, which will now go on, which is the sandwich, as I was mentioning, from chapter number 7 up to chapter number 12 are bhakti related chapters. It means that bhakti would be very nicely described by Krishna to Arjuna in these chapters. There are other aspects also, but they are not greatly discussed as bhakti is. So now we would try to discuss. Okay, so the relationship, as we mentioned, the sixth chapter is related because bhakti was mentioned. Now, Krishna would actually mention. Let's see what it is. Yeah, about the absolute. He describes the bhakti yoga elaborately, starting from chapter 7. So if we see the chapter 7, then let me share my screen now. There is a chat window. Oh, okay. Okay, just a minute. Let me see. Can you see my screen? What do you see?
Aditya and Bruce conversation.
You don't see us?
I see web WhatsApp.
Oh,
You can touch PowerPoint. Go to PowerPoint.
I touched that. Share.
Okay, stop sharing. You probably, yeah, okay, good. Now finally I could see PowerPoint. Make sure you're sharing PowerPoint.
Can everybody see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So what I was mentioning is the first verse starts from hearing. Give me just a minute. Just a minute. Okay. Yeah, thank you. I am back. So what I was discussing is about this particular chapter, chapter 7, is named as, please make a note of it. It is named as Jnana Vigyan Yoga in Sanskrit. Okay. And Srila Prabhupada gives the name knowledge of the absolute. So from here, the knowledge of absolute starts. So even though it is Gyan, it is knowledge, but it is knowledge about the Supreme Lord. So then it transforms that knowledge when we have how to know a person whom we love. We can love someone whom we know. Does anybody love someone who without knowing? Very rare. Rukmini Devi did that, but she knew about from Brahmanas about Krishna. And that's how he started loving Krishna. So we have to know that personality to love. So these particular chapters will tell us who is Krishna, what is his different energies, and how we can love him. And that is bhakti. So it starts with knowledge of the absolute. So you can see here that there are four acronym is given head, HEAD, head. So H is for hearing. So verse number 1 to 3 is discussing about the very important process called hearing. And then the second is everywhere, which is starting from verse number 4 to 12. Krishna is everywhere. How we can see Krishna everywhere in these verses. And then the third one is A for accept or reject, which is from verse number 13 to 19. And then it describes about the demigod worship, which is about 20 to 30. Okay. So we'll go through it as it comes. First, the first verse is very important. So let's recite that verse. Let me share. Okay, the other. I think I have that thing. Let me share. People have the Bhagavad Gita with them, right? Chapter 7. So this is the first verse. So the first verse, can everybody see the screen?
You are sharing generating.
It takes time. I don't know why it's taking time. Is it now coming?
No.
Yes.
You're saying what's up again?
I don't know why this is happening today. Okay. Again. Okay. Is it coming?
Yes.
Okay. So let's see. So I think you can see this and this. We would see one after another. So this is the first verse. Who is going to recite? Take a lead on reciting it with me. Okay, Navneet. Then we'll come to everyone who can recite. So we'll go one by one. So I'll recite and you can repeat. So the first verse is Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Maya Sakta Manah Partha
Maya Sakta Mana Partha
Yogam Yunjanmadashrayah
Yogam Yunjanmadashrayah
Ashamshayam Samagram Mam
Asamshayam Samagram Mam
Yatha Gyasyasi Tat Shunu.
Yatanyashyasi Tatruno.
Thank you, Navneet. So can you read the translation?
Yeah. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Now hear, O son of Pritha, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt."
See, so there is very important in this verse. Just note here. Hearing, there is hearing part. As I was mentioning, hearing is very important component of our lives. When we don't know, our knowledge comes from hearing only. Like when we are child, that time we don't know how to read, right? But we hear from our parents, we hear from other sources, and we know, okay, this is this. This is my parent, this is my father. This is when you hear certain things, you know exactly. Hearing is very important process. By hearing, we understand about the Supreme Lord or anybody. So Lord says, now hear. What? How? By practicing yoga in full consciousness. So we talked about the yoga ladder. So bhakti is the highest ladder. So at that level, one is in full consciousness of the Supreme Lord. How one can become in full consciousness? With mind attached to me. To whom? To Krishna. You can then, after that, you can know me in full. And when somebody knows Krishna in full, there is no doubt. Because why normally why we have doubts? Anybody can say why we have normally doubts?
Because I'm not pretty sure.
Okay, anybody wants to try? Why we have doubts? Yes. Advaita Chandra?
Well, we mainly have doubts because we don't have faith or we don't hear properly.
That is one good aspect. And the other aspect may be if you don't actually know something nicely. Like, for example, if you are, as you mentioned, if you're not hearing properly, you will not know about that person. If you don't know, then there is a doubt. Oh, did I hear correctly? Did God exist? All those doubts come. Krishna is saying when somebody knows him in full, he is free from all the doubts. So then, as I was mentioning, this particular one is H is for hearing. So hearing part is starting from here, from 1 till 4. Then what also is known, in second verse, Krishna says that you would know, by knowing about me, you will know both material world as well as spiritual world. Why? Because Krishna is the proprietor or is the owner of both the worlds. Or it is also called as in Sanskrit as proprietor. So when one knows about Krishna, he knows about the material world and also the spiritual world. Now we'll know exactly why Krishna is saying that. So then in the verse number 3, Krishna says that quite rare actually this, to know me, very rare, because people are conditioned. They, as I was mentioning before, they are under the three modes of material nature, Lord's external energy. And he would say here later on why it is important. So only few people, because they are covered, they cannot know about the Lord. Like how? Like for example, you see the sun, right? In the daytime. But when the clouds come, even though the sun exists, can you see the sun? But you know the sun exists because there is light. It hides the sun, but it never hides the light. So that way we can understand Lord is there, but if there is a covering in front of our face, we cannot see things properly. So that's the reason one hardly knows him in truth. And then text 4 tells about Krishna's different energies. Now this is material. He's talking about material and spiritual, I mentioned. So material energy, what are those? Here it says, Bhumir Apo Analo Vayu. Bhumi means earth, Apa means water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. 8 things. What are the 8 things? Earth. What is earth? You see earth is actually the surface, as you see. What is water? Water has liquid in nature, so you know what water is. Air you cannot see, but you can feel. When it moves, you can feel. What is ether? Ether is the sky. And what is mind? Mind is not in the head, actually. Mind is a combination of many different things like chitta. So that it has some faculty in the brain, but it has also faculty in the heart, according to Vedas. Then intelligence. Intelligence is, we say brain matter, but it also has to do with our previous lives. So those impressions are there. And then false ego. False ego, what is false ego? Anybody can tell what is the ego? Any English translation of ego?
I think ego is like if you think that you're the best and that you're better than everybody.
That is ego. Yeah, that's true. That is false ego. What is ego? Ego is yourself. Okay. That is ego. But there are like two egos. One is false ego, one is true ego. False ego is thinking about better than everyone, thinking that Lord is not the Lord, I am the Lord. So that is a false ego. What is the true ego? True ego is we have a spirit soul within us. That is the real identity. False ego is we are thinking that I am this person, but actually who I am a spirit soul. That is our true ego. Okay. And false ego is the way we identify ourselves. All these together are 8, constitute my separated material energy. So Krishna told, by knowing him, he would tell about material and spiritual. So these are components of material energy. And text 5, then he says, even with this material energy, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is another superior energy which comprises the living entities, Jiva Bhuta. Jiva Bhuta. The word is Jiva Bhuta. The living entities, because they have consciousness, that's why they are superior. Do you think earth, water, air, everything, anything has a consciousness? Does it move? Does it do some activities that you can see? So they are not, they are material entities, but they don't have life or consciousness. So the consciousness is, all the living entities have the consciousness, like for example, plants, different kinds of animals, human beings. So they are superior. Okay. But what is happening? Who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. So what the superior one doing? They are exploiting whatever. Exploiting means using the material nature for their benefit. Like for example, we make our, take all the ingredients, make our house, take the ingredients from plants, prepare food for us. All those different things we do. How we are doing it? We are taking it from the nature and we are using it. We are superior, but we are using the inferior nature for our benefit. But in doing so, what happens? We are covered by the inferior nature. And we think that we are also inferior, even though we have a superior nature. One thing to note here is both all the material elements and the jiva, they are part of Prakriti. And Lord is separate. Lord is supreme. One is Purusha and one is Prakriti. So material nature is Prakriti and part of material nature is Jiva also, even though it is superior. It cannot be Bhagavan, it cannot be Purusha. Purusha is the supreme enjoyer. Purusha means supreme enjoyer. Prakriti means enjoyed or external energy of the Lord. Any questions come? Please keep it with you and we can take all the questions. Once we complete this chapter, we'll take questions and then the next chapter and we'll go there. So then the next is, next go to the, then Krishna says, then Krishna starts telling that how you can see Krishna. Before that, he tells one thing, very important thing. This is a very important verse. Let's recite. Who is going to recite this one?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Please recite.
Matta parataram nanyat kinchedasti dhananjaya mayi sarvam idam protam sutre manigana iva.
Yes. So can you read the translation?
O conqueror of world, there is no true superior to me. Everything rests upon me just as pearls are strung on a thread.
So what does this mean actually? What does this mean? Like, for example, material world is there, spiritual world is there. And see, one thing very important here. You have seen a garland or a pearl necklace. You see all the pearls together or you see all the flowers together. But what is holding them all together? That string, right? So Krishna is acting as a string which is holding all the material and spiritual planets together. That's what Krishna is mentioning here. But it is not visible, but still it is doing it. The thread is not visible. So Krishna is acting as that thread. So first he mentioned, I am going to tell about myself, that beyond doubt you would know everything. You will know about material world, you will know about the spiritual world. Then he tells about the material elements. And also that in those material elements, the Prakriti that has consciousness is superior. And now he is saying both of them rest within me. Then he started saying, okay, how do you know that I exist? What is a glimpse you would know that Krishna exists? So now Krishna starts saying so many, and this you have heard in Mother Urmila's lecture also, that he says, I am the taste of water. He says so many things. So we'll just discuss few of them, but you can read others. Like Rasoham Apsu Kaunteya. And then Prabha Asmi. Prabha means the shine or the light of the Shashi. Shashi means moon. Surya means sun. And for all the Vedas, I am the Omkar. So when you say Om, you can think about Krishna. When you drink water, you can think about Krishna. That, oh, Krishna, because the taste of water is Krishna. So same way, when you see the sun and moon, the light, then you can experience the presence of Krishna. So that's how we can experience Krishna's presence. Then Krishna starts telling about then let's go to the second point that we are discussing, is everywhere. So that everywhere point is what is coming, that as pearls are strung on a thread, similarly, God designs, creates and sustains the complex workings of the universe, yet remains invisible to the immature. So to an immature observer, it is not visible. But a mature person knows that there is a string which is going on. That's why everything is there. Otherwise, how they can stay? All the planets you see, they are there in the sky. If there is nothing holding them, they will fall down, right? There is a force which is holding them. Otherwise, they will fall down on us. How they can stay in the sky? Anything we throw, it comes down. But you see the planets are there, the Earth planet is there, and there's many planets there. They are still staying. How they are staying? Because of the thread or because of the power of the Supreme Lord. They are staying there, which we say here gravitational force or some other forces which work, nuclear force and all those different physics which comes there. But ultimately it is this Lord's energy, external energy, which is holding it all together. Then the next is to accept or reject, and that is the free will. So what is a free will? So we would see. So is there a verse that is okay? Krishna endows each individual with the free will. What is a free will? For example, why there is a free will Krishna gives? You know, Krishna is supremely independent. Whatever he wants to do, he can do. So he has will. Exactly. Everybody agrees on this. Krishna has a supreme will because he is independent. He can do his whatever he likes. We also have, because we are parts and parcels of Krishna. We'll know in 15th chapter. There is a verse which tells, but now just for your understanding, we are parts and parcels. So we will also have some kind of will, very little. Krishna has a supreme will. He can do anything. We can't do everything, but we have a free will that we can exercise and do certain things. As I was mentioning in the previous chapter, in the 6th chapter, there are 3 doers: the soul, the super soul, and the nature, or the external energy of the Lord. I have given the example of printing. Please refer to that video, then you will know exactly what I am talking about. So then Krishna is giving that free will for us. So our free will is exercised by whom? By our mind, to accept or reject. Are we going to accept things in a proper way, or we are going to reject certain things? So that is our choice. So if we use our free will to do certain things which are not good, then it will allow, the supreme super soul is there, it will allow you to do whatever you want to. Like, for example, people can you give some examples? Like, as I was mentioning in the previous chapters, akarma. There is vikarma, sorry, not akarma, vikarma. Vikarma means the activities that are not prescribed in the shastras. They are not moral. Okay. So can you give some examples of that? Okay.
Examples of? Sorry, I was looking at the Gita.
I am saying that examples of akarma.
Oh,
Akarma?
Not akarma, vikarma, sorry. Akarma is examples. Devotion to Lord is akarma. So they will not have result. What is
what's the example of Vikarma?
Vikarma.
Simple one, to have hatred for anyone.
Yeah.
To commit
Hate-
any sinful activities.
Hatred, enmity.
Yeah, enmity, those kind of things. And what is a karma?
What?
Karma, let's say.
Karma.
This karma?
Just karma.
Karma will be just the actions without knowledge of the Lord.
Definitely, but those actions that we are doing, what are good activities we do? We are good to everyone. We
Yeah.
charity, we do other things. People do different things, right? So they are called good karma. Okay. So our free will, we can accept good things or not so good things or bad things, as you can say. But Krishna will never stop because we have the free will. Krishna never interferes with the free will. So now when that is the case, then what happens? So we can just see one thing, just a minute. See, so where there are 4 reasons why people don't. Okay, yeah, Navneet, you have a question?
Yeah. So, can you repeat the vikarma and everything?
Okay, so karma is something which not something. Karma is action, and these actions are prescribed in the shastras that they are good. Okay, so that's why they lead to good karma. Sometimes karma may mean any type of karma, but Good karma means when you are doing activities which are prescribed in the Shastras. Vikarma means that is which is not prescribed in the Shastras. One is doing on its own will, like for example, hatred, doing enmity with anyone, war, and doing unnecessarily harassing someone. All these things are not prescribed in the Shastras. So that is vikarma. And what is akarma? Akarma is when one performs activities for the Supreme Lord or bhakti, process of bhakti, then what happens? There is no reaction of that karma. So even the good karma has a reaction, the bad karma has a reaction. But akarma, why it is called akarma? Because it has no reactions. Why? Because we are giving, we are pleasing the Supreme Lord, and because we are pleasing, Lord is above karma, so he nullifies all the reactions. He purifies us. So that's why it is. Now it's clear? Okay.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, so then why we don't surrender? Normally, why we don't surrender? So these are the four people who don't surrender. So let's see the verse number 15. I'll go faster now because there we have to complete more. So that is verse number, what is this verse? Verse number 14. No, verse number 14, let's see. So Krishna says, this is important to know. Daivihi esha gunamai. Even the external energy which is covering us is also Lord's external energy. Duratyaya. It is very difficult. But whoever is inclined to the Supreme Lord, they cross the Maya. They cause the external energy. They can actually unveil. The cloud goes, because one who is devoted to the Lord, what happens? That cloud is move. Like he can go beyond the cloud and see. Like for example, if you have an aeroplane, you can go beyond the cloud and see there is cloud. Let's say there is cloud and you cannot see. If somebody has a vision, he can go by aeroplane and see that there is sun there and he can clearly see. So that understanding of the aeroplane to go beyond the clouds is what is called as being inclined to the Supreme Lord. Okay? Mameva ye prapadyante maya metam taramtite. So this is a very important verse. Then comes verse number 15. Four people don't come to Krishna. What are those four people? Who are grossly foolish, who are lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who are atheistic, who don't believe on the Lord. So these four people will not take, like you would tell them most of the time, oh, this is very good, Krishna consciousness is very good. If any of these characteristics are with them, then they don't take. So that's why they go into kind of demonic. So they are having a demonic mentality. All the asuras that we have heard have these mentality. That's why they don't understand the Supreme Lord. Now, which four persons come to the Supreme Lord? Chaturvida bhajante man. One is, these are called pious men because they come for some reason. Bhakta is, the pure devotee is, they don't come to the Lord for any reason. They just want to serve. But still, Lord also, likes those devotees who come to him for any purpose also. Like for example, here one is the distressed, artha, jigyasu. Jigyasu is the inquisitive, one you want to know. Okay, desirer of wealth. If I want this opulence, I want house, I want these things, that person can come. I want some money. So those people come and worship the Supreme Lord. And then there are the four people. The inquisitive and Jnani is the knowledge of the absolute, who is going beyond that. Oh, I don't want these things, but I want to know about him. But still, he is not pure because he is not thinking about the Lord fully. He is thinking about other things also. Now, then Krishna says, Tesham Jnani Nitya Yukta Eka Bhaktir Vivshishyate. From all the four, Jnani is better because there is a chance of him being thinking about me and then coming to me. So he says, Priyohi Jnanino Atyartham Aham Sacha Mama Priya. I am very dear to him and he is very dear to me. Why? Because by Gyan, he understands that everything, like for example, desiring of wealth or having distress and everything, they will come in their life. In the life, he becomes equal to all the things. And because he becomes equal, he understands the Supreme Lord. And when he understands it, he becomes Priya, or what you say, a desirable object for the Supreme Lord, and for him Supreme Lord is desirable, and for Lord that devotee is desirable. So that's why one who is full knowledge of me, so that full knowledge should be there. If there is some other things there, that will not show. Like for example, unless the cloud is all removed, you cannot see the sun very clearly. If that is half removed, you can see a part of the sun only, right? Even the moon, it is also true. Like when the cloud, if it is completely removed, you can see very nicely the sun. So as long as there is some cloud is there, the vision is when it is fully like they see full knowledge. So one can see that very nicely. Then let's go to the verse number. And the next part was, okay, let me come here. The head, accept or reject, and last is the demigods. Okay. So here in this section, Krishna says that one can come to directly to me, or one can go to demigods to ask for them. And he tells that demigods are his empowered entities. Like for example, there is a like if you see in the government here, there is a president, and there are many of his cabinet ministers. So if you understand that way, then Krishna is the president, and all different demigods like Indra, Chandra, Varuna, Brahma, they are his cabinet ministers. So if you want to go and ask them, they can only give whatever is with them. And because they are part of material world, they can only give material things. They cannot give spiritual things. So what is spiritual? Spiritual is to have bhakti for the Supreme Lord. They cannot give bhakti. So that's why it is mentioned here, pious people are influenced by the dualities of desire and hate, worship the demigods to fulfill their material desires. Like for example, they would you have heard about different stories of different demons calling out to Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva to fulfill their boons, like Hiranyakashipu getting his boons from Brahmaji, and some Rakshasa getting his boon, like Ravana getting his boons from Lord Shiva. But why don't they worship Lord Vishnu to get their boons? The question may arise actually. Because actually, if they do that, Lord would fulfill their thing, whatever, when we worship Lord Vishnu, he would only fulfill what is good for the person. Even though first it will seem that he is giving him whatever is needed, but later on, by worshipping the Lord, he will get purified. That's why Rakshasas don't go to the Supreme Lord. And another thing is those 4 reasons that we mentioned. Like those 4 characteristics, Mudha Cheta, Naradhama, those kind of characteristics have their cloudy vision, so they cannot see Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu is spiritual and the spiritual world. So this is all in this chapter. So let's recite the last verse of this chapter. Okay, so this verse number 27 says, not 27, okay, verse number 25 is very good in the sense that why Krishna is not revealed. Because Krishna has his yogamaya, his internal potency. He says, Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavrita. That's why he is not visible. For example, Duryodhan was also seeing Lord Krishna, right? All the time in Mahabharata. And also, Arjuna is also seeing. So why Duryodhan cannot understand who Lord Krishna is? Because of his mentality and because of his crooked nature, he cannot see, and he has no love for the Lord. And because of that, he doesn't see Lord as Lord. He thinks as a normal living being just in front of him. Even though Lord shows many activities, supernatural things, he will not say that. So he is not visible to one who is not devoted to him. That's why he puts a veil. So even if Krishna is there in our front, we may not see him because that veil is in front of us. If we are more devoted to him, then the veil opens up and we can see the Lord. So that is what Krishna is saying here. So the last verse in this chapter is Sadhibhutadidaivam sa adhibhuta adhidaivam mam sadhi adyam yagyam chaye viduhu prayana kalepi chamam te viduryukta chetasah. So what does this mean is we would see exactly what these words mean in the next chapter. But one thing to mention here, how this chapter ends is prayana kal. Prayana kal is at the time of leaving the body. One who actually know me, those in full consciousness who know me, the Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of material manifestation of the demigods and of methods of sacrifice, can understand and know me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even at the time of death. So just remember time of death. So now the time of death would define the next chapter. There is a connection here that what one should do at the time of death to remember, because it is to know in full consciousness at the time of death is very important. Okay, and we prepare by chanting and doing all different activities. We prepare for that day because everybody would come for that particular time in their life. But if we are self-realized, normally soul has no death, only body has death, temporary. Body is temporary, but soul has no death. Soul remains, and soul goes back to the Supreme Lord. So any questions here? Otherwise, we'll go to the next one.
Prabhu, can you tell me like all the points?
Okay, the points of 7th chapter are, first point, actually you remember the acronym, right? HEAR. So you remember
HEAD, right?
Okay, head. Okay, yes, HEAD, head. Okay. Hearing everywhere except and so points are, first point is hearing reveals knowledge about Krishna's material and spiritual energies.
Okay. So is it like pages 1 to 4?
No, it is verse. So here you see, here in hearing it says 1 to 3 here.
So
1 to 3. Everywhere is 4 to 12. Krishna is everywhere. Then accept or reject is we have to use our free will in Krishna's service. Okay. And last is the demigod. So one can go to demigods to get their material, get their wishes fulfilled. But if one goes to the Supreme Lord, even though he also gets his wishes as well as he gets the Supreme Lord, both. So both being done. Yeah. So this is some summary of this chapter is Lord Krishna, the supreme truth, the supreme cause of sustaining force of everything, because everything rests upon him, both material and spiritual. Advanced souls surrender unto him in devotion, whereas impious souls divert their minds to other objects of worship like demigods. Okay?
Okay.
Here, so that you can see. So that is the main information here. Let's go to the next chapter now, which is called as, so let's write down what is called in Sanskrit. So 8th chapter is called Akshara Brahma Yoga. Krishna says, Srila Prabhupada says it is attaining the supreme, the chapter.
what is it called again?
Akshara Brahma Yoga in Sanskrit.
This is the name of 7th again?
No, 8th.
I know, but can you say the name of 7th?
Jnana Vijnana Yoga.
Okay.
Because Jnana and Vijnan, Jnana is knowing about the material world and Vijnan is knowing about the spiritual world. So when one knows Krishna in full, he knows about Jnana and Vijnan. So that's why it is named as Gyan Vigyan Yoga. And Srila Prabhupada names it as knowledge of the absolute. And 8th is Akshara Brahma Yoga. Okay. Why I'm saying that? Because if a question comes that way, so you know exactly what is the name of the 8th chapter. Okay, let's go to the 8th chapter now. Okay. So, yes. So there is a link here in chapter 7. Krishna ends with remembering him at death, right? Arjuna starts this chapter by asking clarity about the terms, all the terms that he told. Now Arjuna is asking for clarity. So I'll tell the terms and tell what they mean. Okay. And if you have any questions, let me know. So the acronym for it is called DEAD. So we'll talk about that. But first is the doubts. D is for doubts. Here Arjuna had like all the questions, because Krishna told at the end, Sa Adhi Yagya, Adhidaiva, all those different terms he mentioned. So what are the questions and what are the answers for that? So let's see them. So the question he asked is, what is Brahma? He has started. If you see the first verse, let's see the first verse. So is
Chapter
it
9.
You went to chapter 9.
chapter 9? Okay, that's why.
Mhm.
So this is Kim Tad Brahma. So his first thing is asking, what is Brahma? Kim Adhyatma? What is Adhyatma? What is Karma? What is Adhibhuta? What is Adhidaiva? All questions are asked. So write down. Brahma is Jiva. Okay? Because what is Jiva? The living entity or the soul. That is Brahma. Who is Param Brahma? The super soul. Krishna says about that. Answers in verse number 3 and 4. Then what is Adhyatma? Adhyatma is the eternal nature, the Swabhav, the eternal nature of the living entity. That is Adhyatma. The impressions that a jiva has. The subtle body has impressions in it. So that is the Swabhav. So that is Adhyatma. Yes.
Can you say what Adhyatma is again?
Which one? The
Adhyatma.
Adhyatma is the eternal nature. Just write eternal nature of the soul, jiva.
Sorry. Can you tell Adi Devam again?
Adhideva, I have not come. First I told.
Sorry.
So this is Brahma, Tad Brahma. Brahma is the jiva or the soul, right? Param Brahma is the supreme lord, super soul. Okay. And the nature of the Brahma is Adhyatma. Okay. And what is karma? Karma is the activities performed by that jiva soul. The fruitive activities. Any activity which will give some fruit. There would be action and a reaction. That is karma. So Kim Karma is here. And then the next one, what is Adhibhuta? Adhibhuta is the external energy of the Lord, all called Prakriti. So Krishna mentions Adhibhuta is my Prakriti, my external energy, which constantly changes. Then the next word is Adhidaiva. Here you see Adhidaiva. Adhidaiva is the Virata Purusha. That Virata Purusha is the gigantic form that we'll see in the 11th chapter. That. Any question?
Can you say all of them again? I just want to.
I say them all again, but I am just going all the, there are 8 questions. So question number 1 is Brahma. Brahma means the jiva or the soul. Adhyatma. Adhyatma means the eternal nature or the quality of the soul or the nature of the soul. Then is karma. Karma is the activities that is performed by jiva. The activity which will lead to results. Akarma doesn't come in that category because it is not, karma cannot be akarma, right? Akarma is something that we do for the Supreme Lord and we don't have reactions. Okay. Then is Adhibhuta. Adhibhuta is the Prakriti or the external energy of the Lord. Okay. Which also includes us. We have heard in the 8th chapter, the 8 different material forms, Bhumi, Apo, Analo, Vayu. We heard that one. And then we also heard that the living soul is also there, part of Prakriti, but it is superior. Why? Because it has consciousness. Okay. Then comes Adhidaiva. Adhidaiva is the Virata Purusha or the gigantic form, the Vishwarup, that because that is in the even though it is a form of the Lord, but it is actually all encompassing Lord in the material world. Yeah, we'll take the question. First, you write down all the things and then we'll take the question. Then is Adhiyagya. Adhiyagya is the supreme, the super soul or Param Brahma. Okay? Adhiyagya is the supreme soul or the Param Brahma or the supreme Lord. And how is Adhiyagya known in the body? How one can know about Adhiyagya? Where is the residing place of the Adhiyagya? In the heart. Okay? And the last one is last question Krishna, Arjuna asked is what happens at the time of death? Prayana Kale. And Krishna will answer all those questions in this chapter. That is the main focus of this chapter. What one should do at the time when he leaves his body. And to do that, one has to practice from his all the time so that it comes naturally at the time of death. Okay?
Prabhuji,
Yeah, question. I think
what
that,
is
yeah.
what is Adhyagya again?
Adhiyagya is the Paramatma or the super soul, which is residing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the question coming from Krish.
Krish.
Yes.
Doesn't Adhidaiva mean demigods?
No, Adi Daivik Kashta is demigods actually.
But like he's referring to the word-to-word translation.
Word to
in the
word?
Gita.
Oh, okay. It is actually demigods, but why I'm saying Lord's Virat Roop is there because Lord Virat Roop has all the demigods within them. If you see the Virat Roop, all the demigods represent in his part. Because it is material form of the Lord and it has all the demigods in them. That's correct. That's another way of understanding it. That's true. Which includes all the demigods and their planets.
Prabhuji, I didn't understand what Adidaiva means.
Adidaiva means the Virata Purusha, which is the Virat form of the Lord, which includes all the demigods and their planets. Now it's clear?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So now all these 8 questions are answered. But the last question, oh Ganesh, you have a question?
No, that was for the Adidaiva question. Thanks.
Okay. Very good.
What's the eighth eighth
Eighth question was what one should do at the time of death. So we will see. The answer will be coming in subsequent verses. So verse number 5. Let's recite verse number 5. Krishna tells what to be done, how one can remember. So who is going to this? Or I can just say and you can just repeat. All can repeat so that we are on time. Antakale cha mameva
Antakale
Mameva
Maran muktva kalevaram
Devaram
Yapayati samadbhavam
Yapyati
Samadbhavam
Ati nastyatra sanshayah.
Yati Nasamashya.
So somebody can read the translation?
Can I read?
Yeah, please.
And whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone at once, attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt.
So one has, see, Krishna is answering here what one has to do at the time of when one is leaving the body, he should think about the Lord, remember him. Lord is saying that, right? So that is the answer to the 8th question. And this particular theme goes on in different verses here. So what are the 4 different aspects for the, what you say? The acronym is DEAD. D is for doubts. All the doubts that Arjuna had for Krishna. All the 8 things that I mentioned, that is described in 1 and 4. Then end of life is discussed. So DE, end of life, what one should do at the end of life. Krishna explains how a person's recollections at death and their consciousness. Yam, there is another verse which is yam yam vapi smaran bhavam, tajati ante kalevaram, tam tam eva Evave kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavitah. So whatever type of consciousness, whatever thinking one has at the time of death, that one gets. So that's why one has to practice when we are living all the time thinking about the Lord, doing activities to please the Lord, so that when the time comes, we can remember the Lord. So the next one is attaining the supreme from 9 to 22. So that is a very beautiful thing. So we can see here from 9 to 22. Let's see one verse there. Verse number 16. Let's see verse number 16. Yeah. So let's recite all together. Abrahma bhuvana loka punaravartino arjuna
Punaravartino Arjuna
Tetyatu kaunteya
Mamupetyatu Kaunteya
janmana vidyate.
Punarjanma Vidyate.
So can somebody read the translation?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah, please.
From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest are all our places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. Hare Krishna.
What Krishna is saying, one should pray to him. So he never takes birth again means he goes back to Krishna, so he doesn't have to take birth again. Why there is birth going on? Because one is not thinking about the Lord. So then another body comes, then another body comes. Because whatever he thinks at the time of death, the body is coming. Like for example, somebody is thinking about a goat, let's say. He gets a goat body. Somebody thinking about a deer, he gets a deer body. Whatever thought is there, one gets that body. One is thinking about Krishna, he gets Krishna. So that is what Krishna is saying. The ultimate, a devotee always thinks about the Lord from his time, every time, so that at the time when he has to leave this body, then also he thinks about Krishna. Okay? So that is for this end of life and attaining the supreme. So how one can attain the supreme? When one think at the time of leaving the body also. And the last section is about devotion from 23 to 28. Let's see a verse in that section. So let's see verse number 21 and 28. Verse number 21 is, okay. Now this is telling about the nature of the Supreme Lord. How is the Supreme Lord's abode? So it says, let's recite, I'll recite and you can repeat. Avyakto akshara iti uktas
Avyakto Akshara Ityuktas
Mahu paramam gatim
Tamahu
Paramam
Gatim.
Yam prapya na nivartante
Yam
Prapya
Nivartante
Nivartante
Mama paramam mama.
Tadhamam Paramam
Mama.
So here, if you see here, the supreme, Krishna is saying supreme destination. What is the supreme destination? A destination which is our ultimate goal. Beyond that, there is no other destination. That is called supreme. Otherwise, it cannot be called supreme, right? Like temporary destination. The supreme destination is the place from which, having attained it, one never returns. So when one goes to the spiritual world, he never returns, means he goes and serves the Supreme Lord eternally. So he never returns. So that is the supreme abode of the Lord. And we see another verse and then we can complete this chapter. That is 28th verse, which is the last verse, that how bhakti is there. So let's recite it together. Vedeshu yajneshu
Yagye
chaiva
Vedeshu Yagyeshu Japashu Shaiva
daneshu yat punya phalam pradishtam
Daneshu Yat Punya Phalam
atyeti tat sarvamidam viditva
Atyetita sarvamidam viditvam
viditva
param sthanamupayati chadyam.
yogi
Yogi
param
Paramprasthana
chadyam.
Upaichadyam.
So here we can see what Krishna is saying, how he is ending the chapter. He is saying a person who accepts the path of the devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas. If one bereft means what? One studies the Vedas to understand the Supreme Lord. But once that's what he's saying. One who accepts the path of bhakti, he gets all the results of what one can achieve by studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, giving charity. All these things are pious activities, good activities. But one is devoted to the Supreme Lord, he gets all of these, all the pious credits, all the things, what is derived from all these things. He says simply by performing devotional service, he attains all this. So that tells that bhakti is very powerful. So powerful in the sense that it tells about the supreme position of the bhakti yogi. And one thing I wanted to tell, in between, Krishna tells about the nature of the material world, that how the material world is and how the spiritual world is. The time is different. Like, for example, a verse in the 17th verse, he tells that Brahmaji's time. Okay, let me come here. Verse number 17. He says, by human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together from the duration of Brahma's one day, and also such is the duration of his night. So he tells about the timing of that. So that just to mention that if the question comes like this, you can tell that what is the calculation? 1,000 years taken together of our 1,000 years is one day of Brahma, and one night is again 1,000 years. Just to mention. But then Krishna says, one who actually comes to me, he is going beyond the Brahmaloka and comes to the spiritual world. Brahmaji stays in the material planet only. Okay? Any questions for this chapter? Then we'll move to the next one. So just summarizing this chapter, first is the discussion about the doubts, and then Krishna says what we have to do at the end of life. And the ultimate goal is to attain the Supreme Lord. Okay? As spiritual beings, because we are spiritual and we want to go to the spiritual world. Our body is material, but our soul is spiritual. So attaining the Supreme, and then how one can go there? By devotion, by performing bhakti toward the Supreme Lord. Most effective process to attain the Supreme is Bhakti Yoga. So that is the summary of this chapter. DEAD. Okay. Now let's go to the next chapter. Now the question will arise. Let's go to the ninth chapter and we can discuss that. Ninth chapter is named as, you can write down, Raja Vidya, Raja Guhya Yoga. Raja Vidya means, Raja means what? King, right? Raja Vidya means king of all knowledge. Raja Guhya means what? What is kept secret? Very difficult to understand. So Raja Guhya means the king of all the secrets, the king of all the knowledge. Krishna is going to give in the 9th chapter that. So that's why it's called Raja Vidya, Raja Guhya Yoga. And the name given by Srila Prabhupada is the most confidential knowledge. Yes, the question? Any question?
Nope.
Okay, so it is called king here. So we can see the acronym is king, Raja Vidya. Okay, so the first was K stands for knowledge. So Krishna is explaining that the wisdom of this chapter is most confidential. Raja Vidya and Raja Guhya. So the knowledge is very confidential. And then he mentions about how it is inconceivable. Inconceivable means that we cannot understand by our mind. Some things we can understand, but some things we cannot understand. Can you give an example of something that we cannot understand, but it still exists? I'll try to wrap up in next 15 minutes.
Krishna.
Definitely. You get to give some example people can understand. Krishna is beyond our, like, any example that is there, but we cannot understand about it. Like, for example, an atom. Okay, atom exists, but we don't understand it directly. We have to do some methods to understand it. That's one example, material example about it. So that is inconceivable how it happens. Ganesh, yes?
Solar energy. I don't understand how solar energy works.
Exactly. Solar energy has, like, science have some understanding of solar energy, how it happens. There is hydrogen reaction. Two hydrogen comes and helium forms, and that's how it is there. But the understanding is not very clear. That's true. Very true. Yes. Any other?
Like prehistorical animals.
Prehistorical animals, but prehistorical animals we can understand when we understand about how the different living entities are created. It is not very inconceivable, but it is difficult for us to understand, but it is not inconceivable. Inconceivable is something that you cannot think, that your mind cannot think about it. You understand? Because we can make a structure. Yeah,
Your mind cannot think about your last birth.
exactly. Previous birth, that's true. The
Yeah, galaxies, and as you go on more and more into the vast space and various different creators.
inconceivable that you see the sky is so big, so many things, how the stars are all there. How, what is keeping them there? That is sometimes inconceivable for us. And when you look at microscope and try to see a very small living entity that is crawling, you see under the microscope. It is by microscope we can see, but sometimes we cannot even see by micro, like small viruses, like the COVID virus. We cannot see. So that is conceivable, but by using some method. Okay.
So like
Yeah.
so like maybe like planets like beyond the Milky Way galaxy.
Yeah.
Like nobody knows it.
Even Milky Way, we don't know so many things. Beyond Milky Way is something which is, and then there are so many different lokas also. Yes.
So I didn't know about the prehistoric animals like time. Like which yuga would they land in?
So what we see in the scientific world, they in this in Kali Yuga or start of Kali Yuga only they would come. But if you see the Vedic history, it goes beyond, far beyond millions of years. That is a topic of a greater discussion we'll do in separate time. But just to let you know that these prehistoric animals are coming in within this Kali Yuga and some part of Dwapar Yuga only. It cannot go beyond behind that. But that time also Krishna existed, everybody existed. But science say no, only these animals existed. Humans were also not there. But that's not correct according to the Vedic science. Yes, Shilasya.
Something like the setting of the moon and the rising of the sun might be inconceivable.
Yeah, sure. Because how it appears and disappears is totally inconceivable. But then now people have understood how to understand it. Anybody saying something? Okay. So then the next is non-worship, which is between, because Krishna appears in human-like form, people think that he is not the Supreme Lord. He is just like a human being. So that section is there. And then there is a description of glories of bhakti. Ninth chapter is so beautiful chapter because it gives the most confidential knowledge. It is the king of all knowledge and is the king of most confidential things that is being revealed. Krishna reveals it to Arjuna here. Why Krishna reveals to Arjuna? Because he is his devotee and his friend. That's why he is revealing it. And he can understand it. Who can understand Krishna? Who knows about him? Who doesn't know about him, have no love towards him, he cannot understand. So these chapters are talking about bhakti. So to know about Krishna means to progress in the process of bhakti. Okay. So let's see. Yes.
Is there a shlokam about the chapter in
Yeah, yeah,
about like the most confidential knowledge and everything.
definitely. The first one actually. Let's see the chapter.
In the ninth chapter, I just saw this shlokam
Here you see.
9.2. Yeah, it's 9.2. It says that it's like the king of knowledge and
Yeah, here
king
in
of
the first verse,
secrets.
king of all confidential thing, idam tu te guhyatamam pravakshyami anna suyave jnanam vijnana sahitam yaj jnatva mokshasya shubhat. He says that guhyatamam, most confidential here. And in the next verse, he says Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam, the name, as I mentioned, Raja Vidya, Raja Guhya Yoga. So it
Yeah.
is of all education. So the second verse is actually saying, and what happens when one knows Pratyaksha Vagamam Dharmyam Susukham Kartum Avyayam. So what one realizes it, what happens? One feels so much happiness. Says perfection of religion, everlasting, joyfully performed. So it is performed very joyfully. What is performed? This knowledge, when one has that knowledge, because it has gives us direct perfect perception of self, it shows us who we are, what is our relationship with the Supreme Lord. So when we understand that, we feel joy. We are in situated in the dharma, as Adityanand Prabhu told, right? Starts from the dha there and ends at ma. The last verse ends at ma, and the first verse starts at as dha. So dharma. So dharma is here, and susukha and kartum avyayam. So then let's read one of the verses from each section. Let's read the decide the verse number 4. So I think people know this one. Whoever knows it can recite this verse. Somebody wants to recite?
Can I recite, Prabhuji?
Yeah, please. Harini.
Maya tatamidam sarvam jagata vyaktamurtina matstani sarvabhutani najarante shavastita.
Read the translation.
By me in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them.
What does this mean? All beings are in me and I am not in them. Is it something, this kind of things is sometimes inconceivable. All things are within me, but I am not in them because I am beyond them. So how one can be within that, right? Like everything is within me. Like imagine that all these patterns you see on my shirt is there, but I am not within it. My body is not, like, this is only a part of it, right? It is, all the patterns are part of the shirt, but shirt cannot be part of each of the flowers which is here. You understand? So Krishna is beyond it. He is, as we mentioned in the previous chapter, he is maintaining everybody, and because he is maintaining, everybody is within him, but he is not within them, to figuratively say that. Okay. Then we do another verse, which is verse number 13. This time Srila can do. She okay.
I think one quick thing I just wanted to put is that one way that I would like to understand Maya Tatamidam Sarvam is that we are dependent on Krishna, but Krishna is not dependent on us.
That's a very good point, actually. We are totally dependent. Why? Because when parts and parcels of the Lord. So we are dependent. He is independent. That's a very good point, Advaita Chandra. Yes. Srilasya, can you recite this verse?
Yeah, sure. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritim ashritah bhajantyananya manaso jnatva bhutadim avyayam.
Please read the translation.
Son of Partha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service, but they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible.
So here, one thing important to note here is who is called a Mahatma. This gives the definition of a Mahatma. Who are Mahatma? who are not deluded. Deluded means,
Devotees of Krishna.
yeah, and then they know they are under the protection of divine nature or Krishna and fully engage in the devotional service of the Lord. They are real Mahatma. So who is a real Mahatma? If somebody is Mahatma, means that he is a servant of the Supreme Lord. He is always thinking about the Lord. He is a devotee of the Lord. Okay. So, and then 14th verse is also very good verse, which actually tells that how one can actually always think about the Lord. What one has to do that. So 14th verse, who is going to recite?
Krish can.
Krish, please go ahead.
Oh, Prabhu.
14th verse, Krish.
Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantah sadhidavratah namasyantas tamam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate.
So just read the translation.
Always chanting my glories and endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me. These great souls perpetually worship me with devotion.
So how it happens? By chanting the glories and with great determination. We cannot chant all, it's not easy to chant. So with great determination they chant. How they do it? By bowing down before the Lord. And you would see the last verse also has some kind of glimpse of this verse. That's one of the very important verse in this 9th chapter, the last verse. And that verse is so important, it is repeated 2 times in Bhagavad Gita. We'll see that verse when it comes. But it has also the same thing. Bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. So let's see the inconceivable relationship. We read one verse of that, then non-worship in that section from 11 to 25. What is non-worship? Because Krishna appears in a human life form, some deem him an ordinary human being. Others believe that God manifests innumerable forms represented by various demigods. So the demigod section is again repeating here. Just Krishna wanted to tell that when one worships the demigods, he is worshipping him, but indirectly, not in a direct way. So we'll read a section in that, a verse in that section. And then we'll read one in this section of glories of bhakti. Okay. So in the what was that? There is a very beautiful verse. And then here also Krishna says how you can know Krishna. Like in 7th chapter, Krishna says that I am the taste of water. So here he says, who am I? Am the father of this universe. Here, the mother, the support, the grandsire. I am the object of knowledge, the purifier, the syllable Om. Again, he says Om. One time he says Om before, also in 7th chapter. Now he's saying Om. I am also the Rig, Sam, and Yajur Veda. So he is telling all the things that one can be known. Okay. Then we read one verse from that section.
Prabhuji.
Yeah.
So, I just wanted to ask a question about the 4th sloka.
What sloka?
Yeah. So in the Krishna said that all the beings are in him, but that he's not in them. I'm confused because I thought Krishna was in everybody's heart.
No, that is true.
Yeah, I had the same question.
That's a very good point, actually. Krishna's, everybody's heart is actually Krishna's one of the forms. Like Krishna can be understood in 3 different ways. One is his light or Brahma. The other understanding is Paramatma, when he resides in everybody's heart. Right? But the third one is the Bhagavan realization. So Krishna is there in the heart of everyone. That is very true. But that is a partial representation. Not the complete representation. When you see Krishna in completeness, then everything is within him, but he is not in them. You understand? The complete Krishna, yes. His partial reflection is there, like the super soul is there in everyone. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. That's a very good question. Thank you for asking that. So let's see verse number 20. Avajananti Mam Mudha. What verse is that? Okay, before, okay.
That's 11.
11 verse? Really? Okay, let's see.
That's the main reason why the non-worship section is named.
Okay, so here you can see this particular verse. It says, Avajananti Mam Mudha, fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Lord of all that be. So they think Krishna as the simple human being. He cannot understand. Like Duryodhan, he saw Krishna as simple human being, so he could not understand him, and he wanted to catch him. He wanted to kill him, but could not do because it's very difficult to do that.
1 hour class ni 1 hour 30 minutes చేసేస్తారు.
Yes, just I'm finishing it. I understood, Akshay. It's going 1 hour 30 minutes. Yes. So
Akshay, you were on unmute.
okay, so now we can actually see the last one. So last one is the last section. Let's do the last verse here. Who is going to recite this one? And then we'll finish it.
Can I?
Sure.
Man manam bhava man bhakto man kyaji mam namaskuru mam evyasi yuktavyam atmanamat paryanaha.
If you want to
Engage,
understand this very special thing in this particular chapter is this verse. Okay. So just read the transcript.
engage your mind always in thinking of me. Become my devotee. Offer obeisances to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me.
So that is the basic message here. So we read one from, so this summary of this chapter is that that to approach God in most intimate and personal way, one requires the greatest qualification, complete purity of consciousness. One's consciousness should be purified. And how it can be purified? That is called Krishna consciousness. And that is the last verse. Engage your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances unto me, worship me, being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. So I'll pause here. And if there are, okay, so what is the basic thing in this particular basic summary for this particular chapter is the most confidential knowledge is the knowledge of pure bhakti. Okay. And Krishna creates, maintains, and destroys this world by his majestic powers, which is very difficult for us to understand. That is inconceivable. The second part. Then fools and jnanis approach Krishna in different ways. But direct bhakti to Krishna is the best. Krishna is especially inclined to a devotee and forgives him for accidental mistakes. So if he is a devotee is there, if there is some accidental mistakes, he forgives. So there was not much time, but I can actually mention that he forgives his devotees here in this world. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. What does this mean? That because he is doing Krishna conscious activities, accidental fall down is happening. But because he is continuing doing it, he will get purified and he will not repeat that sinful activity. And he will be totally going back to the Lord. Okay. So now this is all here. And if there are any questions, we'll finish. Any questions here on any of the 3 chapters that we discussed? Sorry about it has gone into like up to 9. But these are bhakti chapters and I cannot go like very fast here.
Sorry, Prabhuji, I had to jump to another class. I have a class at 9 right now, Prabhuji. So I
Okay.
had to jump to another house
I'm
and
going,
also to my
I'm
mom. So
actually,
yeah,
yes. You can jump, sure.
sorry, Prabhuji.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
Prabhuji, so can you say the dead thingy again in the 8th chapter?
Yeah, the dead. Okay. Let's go back to that and we can see again. Dead, D is for doubts. E is for end of life. What should one should do at the end of life? A is for attaining the supreme. How one can actually attain the supreme. And last section is about devotion.
Okay.
Any questions about this?
No.
Okay. So we'll then chant like Hare Krishna Mahamantra one time and end this call. So let's all chant together. Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare, Hare Hare.
Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you,
Hare
Babaji.
Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah,
Hare
Prabhuji,
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji,
Krishna Prabhuji, thank you.
Thank
Prabhuji,
you.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you.